Good morning, everyone. So my name is Gordon Malcheski, and I'll be your worship associate for today's service. So first of all, I want to welcome all of you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Roanoke. It's really great to have all of you here today. We appreciate you joining us in person. I also want to extend a welcome to those of you joining us on YouTube, and an extra special welcome to any new members or first-time visitors to our congregation. We truly hope that you find a real home here. We also invite our new members, along with our regular congregation members, to join us for coffee hour, which is held in the fellowship hall, which is directly behind you through those folding doors. So for those of you that are joining us by YouTube, if you do have any joys or concerns that you would like us to bring up during the Lifelines portion of the service, please enter those into chat. Our pastor is the Reverend Walter LaFleur, and he is hiding in the audience here today, so it's great to have him with us. He gets a little bit of a break today, so he can sit back and enjoy. So this morning's service is on the topic of queer faith, we all have it. And that will be presented by our very own Cindy Lawler. So I'm really looking forward to that sermon. So if you are comfortable doing so, if you could please join me in our words of welcome that appear on the screen. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you express your identity, whatever your situation in life, whatever your experience of the holy, as you come seeking love, your presence here is a gift. Whether you are filled with sadness, overflowing with joy, needing to be alone with yourself, or eager to engage with others, all who welcome all are welcome here. So I believe Walker Hartman is going to do a board report for us next.
Thanks, Gordon. I have the latest numbers on our pledge campaign. I'll share those eventually here in my notes of the board meeting that occurred this week. The first thing to note for you is that the annual meeting is coming up, our church annual meeting, and it's on the 4th of June. And we've been busy planning for this. The meeting packet is out now and on the internet. If you'd like to look it over, board members will be available today and next Sunday to answer any questions that you might have. We are also mindful of the need to provide leadership enhancement here in the church, and the board will be having meeting August the 26th to educate the new board members as well as returning board members on some of our policies and procedures. The board is also considering or exploring the opportunity to hire a webmaster from outside the church to provide those services with an eye to a little more professional background and a longer-term relationship in that service. Our shared ministry committee is coming back. It was an old tradition here in the congregation that fell out for a while, and now we are re-energizing it. The shared ministry committee is basically charged with monitoring the well-being of the congregation and assessing its needs and its trends in concert with the pastor. So they help and they work with the pastor quite a bit. And it's called the Shared Ministry Committee. We almost have it populated now, I think, with new members on the committee. So that's good. Ministers report. The reparations work that Rev. Walter and Teresa Poole are doing continues. They're sharing the book Reparations, A Call for Repentance and Repair as one of the resources for the conversation we want to start here in the Roanoke Valley regarding that issue. I have good news. We have Rev. Walter's planning 2 weddings here. Always a good sign, you know, when people choose us. For some of them, probably the same reason that you're here, they're just comfortable with the type of service that we provide here at Unitarian Universalist Church that is unavailable anyplace else in the valley. Our worship associates have been doing great and commendable work. Rev. Walter is thankful for their assistance here, and we've almost got all of our summer speakers lined up, so everything's going well there. Rev. Walter attended the Finding Our Way Home meeting in Atlanta, Georgia recently. This is a meeting of people of color in the UU Church. And this year, I'm proud to announce UU staff is attending as well. Rev. Walter served as one of the chaplains during this event. On the financial side, we're still in very good condition right now. We have $288,000 in current assets, $5,000 current liabilities, and $35,000 in the bank. However, there are 3 concerns that we're monitoring very closely, and for transparency, you just need to be aware. Number 1, we're anticipating a slight shortfall in this year's pledging. We're not quite getting all the money that was pledged, so we're watching that. Secondly, we obviously have a ways to go in our generosity campaign this year, so we're watching to see how that is going to turn out. And then lastly, our rule on the board is it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And the goose and the gander are right up there, our cell phone tower tenants, right? And one of the gooses left. So you see what's happening. We are watching it close to see if the gander is going to be far behind. That's going to hit us real hard back here. But always an opportunity to re-energize the church and find commitment in what we are doing here and what we love about this church. We also added a $5,000 line to this coming budget for our pastoral search committee. Rev. Walter is in the 3rd year of his 5-year contract with us, so we will put $5K in this budget coming up, and then next year another $5, because we anticipate about $10,000 is going to be needed in ready cash to do our pastoral search. And coming then to the Jim Cam, the latest news from Heather is $229K against the pledge income of 265. So we keep inching up, and we've still got some more pledges out there. In talking to Matthew, he's very optimistic that we're going to make headway on this. So every little penny counts. That represents 101 pledges, 85% of our total budget ask. And there are still some outstanding. That is the report for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Walker. So we'll now do the reading of our covenant, so please join me if you are comfortable doing so. We commit to supporting each other with respect and direct communication as we work in community to explore spiritual growth and to be a force for goodness in the world. Thank you, Carrie and the choir. We appreciate your talents. Our opening words, It Matters What We Believe, by Sophia Lyon-Foss. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Other beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies. Some beliefs are divisive, separating the saved from the unsaved, friends from enemies. Other beliefs are bonds in a world community where sincere differences beautify the pattern. Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood, They blight the growth of resourcefulness. Other beliefs nurture self-confidence and enrich the feelings of personal worth. Some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Other beliefs are pliable, like the young sapling ever growing with the upward thrust of life. We'll now do our chalice lighting words in chalice lighting. Greta McVeigh and Erica Joyner.
We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning. In celebration of life, we share together.
Good morning. I'd like to invite all young folks and folks who are young at heart to come and join me down front. My name is Jessie. I am the Director of Lifespan Faith Development here. And I have here, well, actually, you guys tell me what you see. Just diamonds, squares. Are they one color or are they many colors? Many colors. And Emma said they have words on them. So somebody read one of those words. Love, peace, learning, worship, read, make new friends, community, music. Have we fun? Fun's a good one. Have we missed any of them so far? Social justice, find or define God, community. So these are just some of the reasons. Now, some people helped me make this. What question did I ask you when you helped me make this? That's okay. I can say it again. It was earlier this morning, so not everybody was fully awake. It's why do people go to church? Another question I can ask is, what is your faith? What do you believe is important? Now, there's a lot of blank ones here. And those blank ones are for you to fill in. Something that almost everybody in this room, and I would venture to say everybody in this room, has in common is that we're here for community. We believe in community. We believe in talking to each other. Something that we all might have in common is that we believe in peace. Now, how we get to peace is different for every single person, and that might fill up some of these blank things. But when we put all of these things together, we end up with something like this. And for those of you who can't see it because you're in the back, it's a sun catcher that has all of those colors on it. Now, this one right here might look like my faith. It might have more of one of these colors and less of another. But this is what Unitarian Universalism is to me. You guys are going to have a chance to make your own sun catcher that looks very similar to this one or completely different than this one. And the best part about it is when I hang this up somewhere, everybody can see it, just like people can see our flags out front. Everybody can see this, and they can see my light shining through it from the outside, and I can see the outside shining through my faith on the inside. Are you guys ready to make your own sun catchers? All right, you're going to follow always. You're going to follow Damien upstairs.
Now and peace, may the light Good morning. My name is River Morning, and the reading I'm going to do today is called Litany for Becoming by Infleshed. To become is a lifelong process. Nothing is constant, not even the self. We evolve in the midst of narratives meant only for some and ways of being made narrow by fear and power. We must then have the courage to listen to the truth of our own lives, to the wisdom that comes from within, responding without resistance or need to control, but with welcome and curiosity. This is what ensures our becoming is an unfolding of our truest self. This lifelong labor cannot be carried out alone. It requires help from friends and lovers, family, and creaturely companions who bear witness to what makes us come alive and say to us, listen, look, feel, pay attention to that. To say for the first time, this is who I am. This is the truth of my body. This is what I know about myself. This is my name, and this is where my path is leading me. And to have it heard, to have it received, and to have it affirmed. And then to say it again and again as we change and as the world changes, and to have each proclamation greeted with an open-armed embrace. There is no me without you. We shape one another. The sacred that birthed us weaves our lives together so that we can only find ourselves through shared becoming. For my journey in all of its winding ways, for yours, for all the saints who labored for what is, all the kin whose lives made ours possible, for all those yet to come, for whom living our truths today will mean breaking possibilities open for them tomorrow. We pause, we give thanks, we acknowledge. Thank you.
We have a second reading today. It's an excerpt from the poem Still Possible by David White. It is still possible to be kind to yourself, to drop constraints and fall often to your knees. It's not too late now to bow to what beckons, the world still swimming around as you kneel transfigured by what sweeps on. It's still possible to leave every fearful former self in the wake of newly heard words issuing from an astonished mouth. It's still possible to live bravely and always, as someone said, to the point of tears. To realize that you have always had your life shattered and your heart broken and your faith tested by loving too much and too often. And that all along, it was never too much and never too often, and that you were never, ever fully broken. It's still possible to fully understand you have always been the place where the miracle has happened, that you have been, since your birth, the bread given and the wine lifted, the change witnessed and the change itself, that you have been all along a goodness that can continue to be a goodness to itself. Switching hats. Hi, I'm Cindy. And I want to thank all of you today for allowing me to share a bit of why I decided to become a member of this church within weeks of my wife and I stopping in last year, and despite my certainty that church life would never, ever be for me. The title of my talk is Queer Faith, We All Have It. And to start, I hope you'll let me defang the word queer. Since about the 1920s, those of us who are not traditionally heterosexual have been targeted by that word, taunted, tainted, made to feel perverse. But by the 1970s, we and other minority groups were claiming our equal rights in part by reclaiming the language used to malign us. You may have heard us as we marched. We're here, we're queer, get used to it. Chant that enough in brave company, and you start to understand that if the dominant culture considers you repulsive, even as you are discovering a kind of love and acceptance that is truer than any you'd ever known, then maybe being queer is something to celebrate rather than hide from. I am working hard to feel the same way about the word faith. The word has its origin among 13th century speakers of Middle English, who most often used it to mean loyalty, fidelity, or sincerity, relational qualities essential for people living in increasingly complex social settings. In towns and cities, people lived away from nature among strangers and were increasingly in need of faith in their dealings with each other. If you were faithful, you were trusting and trustworthy. All well and good. But then in the mid-14th century, faith grew fangs. Faith became something primarily theological rather than humanist, more akin to belief than to trust. Belief in something beyond nature, something supernatural that you needed authorities within a church or temple or mosque to explain to you. Protestantism's pivot away from priestly authority toward a scripture that anyone could read might have returned us to faith's original reference as something mutually affirming and within the common grasp. Instead, the translated Bible became imbued with the same troubling infallibility as the Pope. Faith was weaponized. If you lack it, God will punish you during life and commit you to eternal torture after death. Hallelujah. Now, don't panic. I am not going to drag you through all my complaints about the way Christianity has evolved. You have plenty of your own, if I understand Unitarian Universalism correctly. Instead, let's leave the 14th century and zoom into the 20th, where I grew up in a modest suburb of Chicago. Dad was a gentle agnostic and Mom a spiritual seeker, who at that point in her life was raising her 3 girls in the Presbyterian tradition she herself had been raised in. Later, she became a hybrid Celtic pagan United Church of Christer. But in my formative years, the straight-laced First Presbyterian Church of Arlington Heights, Illinois was her thing. When I was very young, I loved entering our church's airy sanctuary with the rows of creaking wooden pews facing a big organ-blasted altar, the light prisming through the stained glass windows. The physical space evoked a natural sense of the sacred in me. I could feel the presence of something huge and mysterious and inviting. Sometimes, when everyone in the pews added their voices to the robed singers in the choir, my very body seemed to fizz along with everyone else's, and when the fizzing stopped, I wanted more. Tomboy that I was, I hated the itchy dresses and stiff shoes Mom made me wear to church, but that didn't stop me from feeling something achingly adventurous calling me there. And then I started Sunday school. There I learned the something I felt was actually a someone, capital S. Someone invisible but everywhere, who rather than calling me on a quest, was always right over my shoulder, watching and judging what I was doing. Someone who was actually 3 someones related to each other and to me in a way that the poor, tired parents teaching us found impossible to explain. We just had to take it on faith. Confirmation classes made things worse, as the same poor parents tried to answer my increasingly belligerent questions about, for example, the cockamamie concept of predestination, that God already knows whose souls are saved, and yet it's a measure of his love that he allows us all to struggle towards salvation anyway. take this kind of theology and craft it to the heart of a girl already struggling with a family dynamic of crushing perfectionism, and faith, as it was taught to me, didn't stand a chance. It seemed to me that God, if he existed, was a bully. And like all bullies, he needed to be confronted and resisted. With the anger of a lover betrayed, I decided all religion was a fairy tale people told themselves in a bid to avoid the more honest work of accepting life on its own merits. I decided that to be a believer was to be a fool. And one thing that perfectionists hate is being foolish. And then the summer before my senior year in college, I fell in love for the first time. To my horror and delight, I fell in love with a woman. Delight because it turned out that after years of my worrisome disinterest in dating, I was a sexual being after all. Horror because apparently I was the wrong kind of sexual being. Jackie and I continued our relationship after I graduated, even as AIDS came on the scene, gruesomely exacerbating society's hatred of homosexuality, a hatred largely articulated by people of faith. I came out to my parents and sisters and a few of my friends, which went better than I'd feared. But mostly, Jackie and I went through our ups and downs without any support. When we finally broke up and she moved away, I was lonelier than I'd ever been. I found a therapist, but she was less than affirming of my sexuality, and I fell into a deep depression. I began to drink more and take unnecessary risks. Speeding along a highway during a snowstorm one day, I felt the car sliding on ice. Dangerous, I thought, followed immediately by, oh, what the hell. The car spun out and flipped into a ditch. A passing trucker pulled me out, unharmed except for whiplash. Not long after that, I went hiking with some friends in the mountains. I had recently given notice at work so I could pursue an ill-conceived solo trip to Africa. That day on the hike, we stopped for lunch at the base of some cascades. In a fog of self-loathing and unhappiness, I left the group and climbed higher. Just across the streaming water was a rock, basking in a beam of sunlight. I wanted to sit on that rock, but it would mean stepping across smaller rocks covered in wet moss. Dangerous, I thought. And then, oh, what the hell? I stepped out and immediately slipped. I started falling with the water, picking up speed and bouncing off rocks harder and harder. I thought, with an odd sense of disinterested wonder, so this is how I will die. But, spoiler alert, I didn't die. I popped over one ledge and landed hard on another, breaking my left femur in 2 places. I was saved by my valiant friends, a park ranger, and a medevac helicopter, which took me to the hospital. There I spent many weeks in traction, waiting for my leg to heal enough for a cast. The femur is the strongest bone in the body. It takes the greatest force to break and the longest time to heal. Faith is that bone in our spiritual bodies. One very early morning, midway through my hospitalization, as I was drifting into consciousness from the night's restless sleep, I sensed very clearly someone in the room. Someone who loved me. Someone, not something, there, gently, intently, fully loving me. Instinctively, I tried to stop myself from waking up and looking to see who was there. I knew no one could be there. And yet, I couldn't keep my mind from grasping at someone familiar. Was it one of my beloved sisters? No. Was it My sweet prankster of a grandfather long dead? No. And then I awoke, and no one was there. The visceral love in the room dissipated and was gone. Now, I wish I could say that both my spiritual and physical bodies were healed that instant, as in all those stories told by disciples and shamans. But what happened to me wasn't that kind of miracle. It was more like the miracle of an oyster's pearl, which starts out as a wayward particle of food the oyster experiences as an irritant to be coated over with the same hard, lustrous material as its protective shell. I didn't know what to make of my experience. I knew I was hungry for it, but I was also deeply, irrationally irritated to be challenged so directly by this unprovable evidence of total love. How dare he, she, they, it? And so, after I left the hospital, my angry arguments continued, with and about God and anything supernatural, with and about religion and its traumas, especially when it came to my sexual identity, with and about my inherent sense, nonetheless, that an essential sacred realm exists within the ordinary, and that most of the time, the portal to that realm is not logic, but a queer sort of faith. Not a faith that requires me to believe something I don't, rather a trust that my persistent, earnest struggle with doubt is faith enough. As I say, it's a queer sort of faith that consists mostly of argument, but I'm finding, and I wonder if you are too, that around such faith, something lustrous grows. Before I left the hospital, my boss re-employed me so I could get my medical bills covered. After one more year at that job, my colleagues ended up being all the network I would ever need to foster a wonderful and far-reaching professional career. I didn't go to Africa to find myself. Instead, I stayed and fell in love again with the woman who is now my wife. We left the mountains for the East Coast, found a community of fellow seekers among whom we grew in love and acceptance, and eventually decided to return to the mountains where so much beautiful endurance is plainly evident. And when we went looking for a community of fellow seekers here in Roanoke, we saw your rainbow flag out front and came in. I am not a Christian. I'm dabbling in Buddhism. I am still more inclined to think of the sacred as a profound, natural, and meaningful something rather than an ultimate someone. I am still wounded, like the biblical Jacob after his long night wrestling with an angel. But here I am, limping along in your brave company. I am a recovering perfectionist coming to terms with holy foolishness. With your help and under the lustrous protection of the Unitarian Universalism's covenant and principles, I am daring to reclaim the language once used to mark where I didn't belong. Words like sacred, like holy, like divine. If those words make you as uncomfortable as they do me, perhaps your faith is as queer as mine. Let's argue about them together. Or as my friend Adele says, let's cuss and discuss. Maybe then we can find the meadow Rumi told us about. Rumi the poet who said, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about.
Our offertory. The work of this church requires the time, talent, and treasures of many people. As we collect today's offering, know that your generous gift will go towards furthering the mission of our church.
I'm gonna sing to you, from you I received, to you I gave. And if you'd like to sing with us, the words are on the screen. It's so magical. I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
We appreciate your generosity. Your gifts will help support the important work of this church.
Good morning. I'm Jane Harrison from the Caring Committee. And the Caring Committee does a number of different things, but one of the things we do is share the joys and the concerns of this church, particularly on Sunday morning. If you have a joy or a concern that you wish to share, you can call the church office, you can let somebody know on the Caring Committee, or you could write it in the Lifelines book, which is on the altar on Sunday morning. Let us enter into a time of reverence together. We have two joys today. First of all, Bill Besfitch sent a message that he is very proud of his grandniece who graduated valedictorian of her 8th grade class. The other joy is that, as you know, we have the sisters here. We call them the sisters, Christine Jordan and Lois Travis. They're the 5 sisters. They're 5 altogether. The last one has moved to the area and is now they're all living together. And that's a joy. They've been planning for this for a long, long time. Okay. If you have a joy in your heart that you wish to share, would you please, what we're going to do is light a candle. We're going to use both sides of the altar. So please join us now. I'm sending you, Lord, to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you, Lord, to hold you in love. I am sending you, Lord, to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you, Lord, to hold you in love. No matter where you go, no matter where you've been, you'll never walk alone. I feel you deep within. I am sending you, Lord, to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you, Lord, to hold you in love. I am sending you, Lord, to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you,
true. I'm always there for you, so I want you to know. I am sending you, Lord, to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you, Lord, to hold you in love. I am sending you, Lord, to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you, Lord, to hold you in love.
We enter into a time of prayer and meditation. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become wholly ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being, common to us all and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion towards ourselves and towards all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and of the sufferings that are going on around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. Amen. Our announcements for today. So there will have a bridging ceremony on May 28th. And this would include a ceremony for naming children and the transitioning of our elementary, middle, and high school students. So if you haven't heard back from Jessie, for those of you involved with the program, please get in touch with her. Also at the May 28th service, we'll be honoring our wisdom holders. These are going to be individuals that are 80 years or older and are willing to share their words of wisdom. And even if you don't plan on sharing anything, if you'd please contact Rev. Walter so we can begin to create a list of wisdom holders in our congregation for the future. The Pack a Snack program wishes to thank you for your continuing contributions. However, they do need some more contributions. I did see a stack on the kitchen counter, so that's encouraging. The children will be packing another round on May 28th, so if you're interested in adding to the pile, that would be appreciated. And our church has signed a statement denouncing Christian nationalism, and it's going to appear in the Roanoke Tribune on June 15th and in the Roanoke Times on June 18th. You might want to check the link in our weekly newsletter if you'd like to add your name to the list or find out more about the initiative. The annual report was sent out on May 19th. Our annual meeting is June 4th. We do have some copies of the report in the lobby, or you can contact the church administrator if you need to get a copy. And then lastly, the 8th Principle Article 2 Task Force invites you to a luncheon presentation on the 8th Principle proposal that we will be voting on at the annual meeting. There's also updates on the UUA Article 2 revisions that will be voted on at General Assembly. This will take place in the Olin Room next Sunday after the service. So our closing music is going to be a video that we're going to share with you. It's titled, I Am What I Am. It comes from a Broadway production about a drag queen singing the song after a particular performance. But it's not just to dealing with drag queens or gay or lesbian, transgender individuals. I think it can speak to all of us as to being our genuine selves. Now, while I've never done drag, this was kind of my coming out song, if you will, in the 70s, about as flamboyant as I get is the tie you see me wearing. But nonetheless, it's a very moving song. It means a lot to me, and I hope you find joy in it as well.
I am what I am. I am my own special creation. So come take a look. Give me the hook or the ovation. It's my world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, hey world, I am what I am. I am what I am. I don't want praise, I don't want pity. I bang my own drum. Some think it's noise, I think it's pretty. And so what if I love each feather and each spangle? Why not try to see things from a different angle? Life's not worth a damn till you can shout out loud, I am what I am. I am what I am, and what I am needs no excuses. I deal my own deck, sometimes the ace, sometimes the deuces. There's one life, and there's no return and no deposit. One life, and it's time to open up your closet. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, hey world, I am what I
Did not play that one today. That was great. So as we extinguish our chalice light today, let us turn to face the coming week refreshed and renewed by our participation in this beloved community. And as we do, let's recall the words of longtime Unitarian Universalist pastor Wayne Arneson, who said, "Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, For deep down, there is another truth. You are not alone. Go and be well. Thank you.